Ahsoka is in the books, and many of you out there are disappointed. You're disillusioned with Dave Filoni, and you no longer believe that he could be the kind of guy to restore Star Wars. But you are not alone. No, there are now major indicators that Disney and their licensing partners also had a case of the cold feet when it came to this series. $200 million plus thrown at the budget, and yet when it comes to toys and merchandise, there is scant little of it. You would expect, given this kind of theatrical level budget, that you would see McDonald's, you would see action figures, you would see towels, you would see all sorts of merchandising items. Folks, we're about to show you what there is, and what there is ain't much. Star Wars merchandise has been abandoned by Disney. We're talking about Ahsoka today, and Jeff of World Class BSers is here to navigate us through this very disappointing and depressing situation for everybody over there at Lucasfilm. Jeff, welcome back to the channel. Been too long.
It has, but thanks for having me back. I'm always excited to be here on WDW Pro with you, man.
Happy to have you. Jeff, what were your thoughts on Ahsoka? Have you seen the finale?
Yeah, I have. I suffered through the entire season.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
The show wasn't really great. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't really worth even making a lot of content about. I kind of watched it hoping something interesting would happen, and by the end of the season, I was left disappointed, just like many other Star Wars series.
You know, for all the people out there who enjoyed it, and I know there are real people who enjoyed it, I have to say that yesterday's video that we did covering the full series review with Lorne Connor and Jonas J. Campbell of That Park Place, we were quite critical, and despite our criticism of the show, and we were very harsh with it, and I think rightly so, it had a tremendous viewership, still is going, and the like to dislike ratio is amazing. I think that while those of you out there who enjoyed it, I sympathize. I hate, that you're enjoying something and everybody else is boo-birding it down, but I think the vast majority now are walking away from Star Wars. I think this really was the last straw, and so I don't even know that I can cover Skeleton Crew. I think it's that bad. And I think that Hasbro is feeling very similarly to what we're feeling today. And folks, we're about to show you just how bad things have gotten with Hasbro. Jeff, before we do so, give us just a rundown of what you have observed in the toy industry in regards to Star Wars and Disney merchandise.
So, as you know, I've been covering this on the channel for many years. I've been going out into stores, documenting how stuff never sold, it didn't move. I would put specific things in places. You could see how dust would collect on boxes, and it was terrible. But something I've noticed is that Disney has abandoned their newer creations on the retail shelves. And what they've gone back to is original trilogy. Han Solo, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, Lando Calrissian can all be found at my local Target right now. But who you don't see is Rey, who you don't see is Poe Dameron or Cassian Andor or any of these new characters that they've created. And some of these characters have had figures, all these characters had figures be made of them, but they're not really sticking around. And I don't mean like, they just sat on the shelves forever. I mean, they made them one time and they stopped. But you have these classic characters that get re-released over and over again, be it with a new box, a new accessory, something here or there. But it's always the original trilogy characters that are popular. They remain popular. They have remained popular forever, essentially. And so I've noticed that they always make a comeback. They always sell. Prequel era stuff, less. There are times when troopers are popular. There are times when maybe a younger Obi-Wan Kenobi will come out or an Anakin Skywalker. But for the most part, all Star Wars merchandise is original trilogy stuff, and that's the stuff that still moves.
Well, I think that's the clear observation at this point is that Star Wars merchandise is really, it's reached a point now where the only thing that's popular any longer, the legacy stuff that George Lucas made and Disney Star Wars, it is neither watched, it is neither streamed, nor is it purchased in the way of merchandise. So not a great spot for Kathleen Kennedy and her crew to be in. The report that we had, I guess, last week, of course, came from one of our highest level sources, and the report was that Star Wars merchandise has fallen 65% over the last few years. I think that's even more There's a bigger precipitous drop on the horizon now, and I'm going to show you why. So, Jeff, join me in this voyage as we take a look at the merchandise here on Shop Disney, and this is just the beginning of where we're going to go. I want to demonstrate to everybody what it is that we're going to relay before we relay it. We're just going to literally show it to you first, and then we'll explain it. Take a look at this, Jeff. On Shop Disney, if you type in Ezra, you get 2 Haunted Mansion items. There's nothing here for Ezra. Let's search for another item. Let's say that we want Sabine. We're interested in anything that is Sabine. What do we have here? Well, we've got a Lego, which, remember, folks, we've said a Lego is the exception here. We've got a Lego T6 Jedi Shuttle. We have a hoodie, and they've got these other items that are not real. Well, we've got Sabine on a t-shirt, but the rest of it is very loosely tied to Sabine whatsoever, but no action figures, no nothing like that. Okay, let's check out Thrawn. Thrawn's the big baddie that has been introduced in Ahsoka. Oh, there's literally nothing for Thrawn. That is so sad. I feel such sadness here. How about Ahsoka? Is there anything for Ahsoka? Okay, here we have Ahsoka, finally. All right, well, we have a little bust, and we have the chopper mech thing that we've seen. And, we've got some items for Ahsoka, T-shirts and what have you. Not a tremendous amount, though, but it's there is some Ahsoka stuff here. The funny thing, though, Jeff, is that most of this Ahsoka stuff has actually been here before the show came out. Most of it came out with The Mandalorian when Ahsoka made her appearance. So, Jeff, let me go to another website, and then I'll share with you what I've got, okay? Join me as we go through this. Okay, we're now on Shop Hasbro. Let's see what we can find, okay? We want Sabine. Hasbro, you make... Oh, there's no Sabine. Okay, hold on. This is going to be a mistake. Ezra. There's no Ezra on Hasbro, okay? Thrawn. There will be some stuff that is Thrawn. Well, would you look at that? Luke Skywalker and Grand Admiral Thrawn, both from the original Heir to the Empire story, not from Ahsoka. Well, now that's okay. So they have Thrawn from before Ahsoka, not from now Ahsoka. What do they have that's Ahsoka? If we look here, we will find some Ahsoka. And so this is the same thing on Hasbro. You'll find some Ahsoka stuff. Again, however, most of this stuff existed with The Mandalorian, or it's actually still around from the Clone Wars, as you can see. Very little of this has come out from the Ahsoka show. And Jeff, here's the big news. What I'm told is that Hasbro essentially took a pass, and Disney allowed them to take a pass. Now, folks, we're in rumor and speculation territory. We've got 2 sources reporting this to us, but rumor and speculation territory, I cannot corroborate this. But it seems to match up with what we're literally seeing on the screen. Apparently, Hasbro was given the opportunity to do a wait-and-see model with Ahsoka, and they are waiting, and they are not seeing, because I'm told you can pretty much count on nothing more coming out for the Christmas season. This is very different than when The Mandalorian came out, and they were trying to be very secretive with Baby Yoda, right? And so the Baby Yoda stuff came out late because they were trying to keep it a big secret. They didn't want it to get out. They didn't want it to leak. And then the Baby Yoda Grogu stuff came out later. In this case, there's nothing coming out. There's nothing that was a big secret. Everybody knew about Sabine and Ahsoka and Ezra. Well, maybe not Ezra, who looks like a cross between Bruno and Jesus, but everybody sort of knew about these characters. They're just not making the toys, and we'll show that more. Are you surprised at all that this is a $200 million plus budgeted show, a flagship that's supposed to launch an entire saga with a cinematic conclusion, and there's nothing in the way of toys?
I'm never surprised, I guess, because I've lived through a lot of this stuff. Now, the way Disney has handled their live-action Disney Plus marketing merchandise is so bizarre to me, because it'll come out in a small chunk, and then it'll go nowhere. Let's use Obi-Wan for an example. You'll get a couple vintage figures, you'll get vintage collection figures, and you'll get the 6-inch Black Series figures. And what I've seen for the characters in Ahsoka are the Rebels. They've made Rebels figures, but they're not touching Ahsoka. So you may see certain characters eventually, but they're not from the TV show Ahsoka. The show Rebels is still hugely popular, I guess, among a certain audience. since there was a crowdfunder that was successful to get the Ghost and stuff from that cartoon made. But to further this, it's not from the Ahsoka television show. It's like that show is sort of a black hole. Now, we don't know if there's more coming. We don't know how much more they have in the pipeline. And with the way things work, you know, they'll map stuff out. But with the way Star Wars has been working is they just kind of throw it out at the beginning and then they leave it alone. And you look no further than Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is at Ollie's. You can find a couple things at Target. And these Disney Plus shows just do not know how to, I guess, further the Star Wars brand the way they tried to with The Mandalorian. But as we all know, that failed to deliver. And they're now stuck with a million Baby Yoda dolls on clearance across the country. So, no, I'm not surprised that Ahsoka and the Ahsoka merchandise is just not going to be there.
A couple of points here. One, I would say that if you are looking for the success of a show on Disney Plus, there are a couple of ways that you can measure whether or not a show is successful. And so the easiest way is to wait for those Nielsen ratings. And by the way, folks, we'll get week number 3 for Ahsoka coming out later today out of Nielsen, and we will be tracking that. You better believe it, because the second week showed that Ahsoka fell off the top 10. Remember, we said that this show had a $200 million plus budget. So if it doesn't even meet the top 10, if it's beaten by reruns of Big Bang Theory, then guess what? The return on investment is very poor here. So that's the first way. But the second way, and I think it's perhaps even better, that you can measure a show's success is check out the merchandise. And if toy manufacturers and merchandise manufacturers don't want to make stuff, if they don't want to make merch for your show, it's probably not popular, because they want to make toys, they want to make action figures, they want to make tchotchkes if it's going to sell, and the way it sells is if people are watching that content. So if there's no merch, I think it's very concerning. Now, Jeff, you brought up the Black Series. My understanding is there are Black Series action figures for Ahsoka, but they are in an extremely limited run. That's what one of the sources is telling us. Extremely limited, bare minimum run, and it is essentially to satisfy the collectors. But there's not demand in terms of the young demographic. And here's the key, Jeff. Apparently, and this comes from a very good source, not our highest level source, but a very good source, who says, if you don't have a villain, if there's a show that features a villain and you don't put the bad guy into the line of toys that you're willing to do, then you don't believe in the show whatsoever. Well, guess what? To my knowledge, there is no Thrawn. Now, actually, we do have the ability, and this is going to be a lot of fun, we do have the ability to see exactly what is in the Ahsoka lineup, let's say. Let's watch this, and folks, get ready. This is interesting. Here we go.
Hasbro just sent me their new Ahsoka collection. Oh my god. You guys know I'm a huge collector, and these Black Series.
All right, Jeff, so there's the Black Series, right? And this is the perfect specimen for what Disney is aiming for Star Wars. I'll say no more. But, Jeff, there's the Black Series. We've got that.
Are beautiful. They included my boy Ezra.
Now, wait a minute. Jeff, did you know something about this Ezra?
Included my boy.
That's what I was talking about.
Does that look like Ezra?
That is a grown-up, like, cartoon version. That is not the TV show version that they're telling you. That is not what I saw on Ahsoka.
Exactly.
Yeah, what is that? That's the cartoon human, brought to life.
In other words, Hasbro isn't even willing to make the version that's on the TV show that we have today, the $200 million budget TV show, because they don't think it's as recognizable as the cartoon. And folks, guess what? The cartoon was watched by about 3 million people total. So that, when Disney comes out and says, it's been seen by 14 million people, if it was being watched by that number of people, you would have, we don't talk about Bruno Jesus Ezra rather than this guy. So
Ezra. And Morgan Elsbeth, who I'm low-key simping for. Look at her.
There we got Witch, who holds the World of Warcraft sword.
Obviously iconic.
All right, we've got the new Forces female Rey. Oh, I mean Sabine, who throws Ezra with the Hadouken into the spaceship. Very cool, very cool.
And her colorful armor.
Now watch this. This is where we're getting interesting stuff. All right, so there's another Sabine, right?
And it comes with a Loth cat. And we can't forget the ever iconic T6 Jedi shuttle. Can you tell I like the ships? This Ahsoka headpiece is absolutely adorable, and it's
All right, now here's where things get interesting. My understanding is that this headpiece, this is not new, Jeff. This, you could have bought this before, so
I
not
filmed this
new.
months ago at Target.
Yes, okay, perfect. See, this has been out
I
since
played
before
around
the
with it.
show.
I pressed the buttons. It's been
Right.
out for months and months.
And just repackaged, right, with the Ahsoka show packaging on it.
it talks. This is perfect for Halloween. And then we got Chatterback Chopper, this war criminal
Okay, so this is one of the pieces that apparently they managed to get them to put in here. So this one's legit.
will talk smack right back. This Ahsoka figure is super cute. It lights up.
Okay, here's another one that I am told this has been around. Apparently, this has been around for the Mandalorian.
It's in
Have
my
you seen
video.
this, Jeff?
I filmed it months ago at Target. I pressed the button to, record the audio. So that's not brand new. I've seen that over the summer.
But are you noticing
Totally.
this is literally a loot box sent by Disney/Hasbro to this person to show off all of the Ahsoka TV show merch, and here we are, folks. We're telling you, this stuff's been out for a while now. This isn't, it's not like a brand new merch line. They're just throwing anything they've got that's been Ahsoka in here.
Talks, and it has sound effects. This is me realizing I'm going to reorganize my entire collection. This was such a fun surprise. The Mission Fleet line is so
All right, Mission Fleet line with Luke Skywalker, with Baby Yoda, with this is literally Book of Boba Fett toys. This is a Book of Boba Fett toy that they threw in the Ahsoka stuff because Hasbro won't support Ahsoka.
And
This is crazy.
And these are at Ollie's. Like, the entire mission line that this girl's geeking out over. In my latest toy video, I joke you not, there were 100 different boxes full of these. This is one of the most disappointing lines that Hasbro's put out in the modern era. There's this line that came out around 2013 where they took away the articulation and lowered the paint apps, and then there's this one. And this one, just go anywhere, folks. Don't pay full retail price for any of this stuff because it'll be at Ollie's within weeks. I mean,
Folks, look at my cursor. Look at this. It's literally got Luke carrying Baby Yoda in the backpack, just like off the Book of Boba Fett. This is a repackaged Boba Fett toy because Hasbro is not going to waste their money on Ahsoka.
and so fun. And there's Grogu. Wouldn't be a Star Wars collection without a lightsaber.
And a lightsaber that has been around for who knows how long. The lightsaber's been
I'm a
available
prequels
forever.
baby, so these lightsabers will always be my favorite.
cheap.
Thank you so much, Hasbro.
So there you go. There is the full gamut of what Hasbro has for Ahsoka. The full box revealed to you by this quote unquote influencer, and it turns out it's a much to do about nothing. I mean, there are a few Black Series that they put out in minimum for collectors, but Jeff, guess what we didn't see here? Are you ready for this? There's no Balin. There's no Shin. We don't have the Naughty. We don't have Thrawn. They literally they doubt this so much at this point that they didn't even put the effort in to make a Thrawn from Ahsoka action figure. That is how little they care in terms of Hasbro saying, we're going to put our money behind this. We trust you, Disney. We're going to support it.
If you looked closely with what I did, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. If you look closely at her shelf, which is what I did, I don't really trust that this lady's a big of a Star Wars fan as this influencer presents themselves to be. It's like it's very curated to represent like a certain type of Star Wars fandom. Newer stuff, cutesy stuff. You got like one episode, one doll, and you got like a picture of Princess Leia and a couple things in the back. But this isn't your average Star Wars fan. This is a bad representation of the people who actually buy Hasbro merchandise. Who they should send it to is a guy like me, to be honest with you, because I do know my stuff, and I know how to, I don't know, represent this stuff honestly. This just seems like a very hollow commercial. And when I see influencers like this get the Star Wars brand, it's like, this is who they wanted to target Star Wars to in this new era. And that's fine.
Yes,
Star
yes.
Wars can be for everybody. I'm not trying to say it needs to be for, only guys or only this or only that. Not at all. But this person doesn't really seem to like Star Wars. They like really weird parts of it. And so it's just representative of why these shows don't really take off or have crossover appeal, because they appeal to a person like this and the audience that would subscribe to an influencer like this. So they're not really a
I
bigger
don't
fan.
think,
They're just a
Jeff,
fan of something that's new.
I don't think that the Hunger Games crowd is going to buy Star Wars merchandise at the level that the old demographics that they used to buy Star Wars stuff and they do no longer. I don't think that the Hunger Games crowd will buy it at the same level. I don't think they have the same vociferous interest in Star Wars. And here's the other thing too. The other thing about this is Star Wars through the late 70s, 80s, 90s, etc. was always a massive merchandise driver. Kids love Star Wars toys. And in fact, we have tales from inside the toy industry of Walmart ordering pallets and pallets and pallets of nothing but Han Solo action figures, and they couldn't get enough of them. So they would back order Han Solo action figures. That's in addition to every other action figure they were ordering. Now, you're in a situation where this is a flagship show that launches a saga about a villain that you're going to have to take down, and it's been likened unto the Avengers, right? Going up into Endgame. And despite all of that, they are putting forth merchandise that you say that you find at Ollie's, right? It's discounted junk that they've repackaged as Ahsoka junk, and now they're trying to say that, oh, we've got a big toy line behind it. And all they really have are a few collector's items that they ran at the minimum. I think there's no better symbol, there's no better signal to the folks out there to say, hey, Star Wars is in trouble, than when your toy manufacturer, who they should love Star Wars, this should be their cash cow, when they have run away and when Disney has allowed them to run away. But they're all choosing to run away from this. I think that it's a vote of non-confidence right from the get-go. They all knew this was a stinker of a show, and I think that Dave Filoni probably is in more trouble, not to be fired, but more trouble in terms of budgets going forward and creative control going forward. I think he's in more trouble than Disney was letting on before we started all this. Your thoughts?
Oh, I would agree 100%. Quick aside, then I'll get to my bigger point. I was at Ollie's the other day, and Dave Filoni's face is on a toy box. I don't know if you've seen this. There's a Trapper Wolf helmet. It's like a full-scale 1-to-1 helmet that you can wear, and it's him. Luke Skywalker didn't make it to clearance, but Dave Filoni's X-Wing helmet did.
Is there an owl anywhere on the packaging? Please tell me the owl made it.
I didn't look close enough. It's in the video, though, if you want to go check that out, because I just was like, oh, look, Dave Filoni's on a toy box, and then there was Ahsoka stuff. And, I mean, maybe 3 or 4 months ago when I was at an Ollie's looking at stuff, they had the vintage collection Ahsoka from Obi-Wan, from Mandalorian Season 2. And it's the same figure, they're just throwing it in an Ahsoka box. Like, it's across the board. You can just find these things, and it does show you how little faith they have. And I'll take a weird step. I kind of feel bad for Hasbro, or had felt bad for Hasbro, during the the sequel trilogy era, because we had J.W. Rinsler on our channel a few years back. Now, J.W. Rinsler was a writer for Lucasfilm. He wrote a lot of books about the behind-the-scenes making of Star Wars. He would talk about, he knew every edit of Star Wars. He knew George Lucas. He knew how things worked at Lucasfilm because he was there. And he told me on our interview that I did a few years back that when Disney took over, they bought into the J.J. Abrams secrecy mystery box edict in the merchandising. So, for example, he told me on his first day at Lucasfilm, he was supposed to be writing the novelization of Attack of the Clones, and he was given a VHS tape of it right away. But when Disney took over, they kept merchandisers and all these people in the dark because they wanted to keep the secrets. So they had to make all of these characters blindly thinking that they were going to be a big part of this trilogy. So you had the Guavian Enforcer and Constable Zuvio and all of these Star Wars characters that were either cut out of the movie or blink and you miss some characters. And those characters sat on the shelves for 3 and 4 years. Toys R Us went out of business before they could even move half of this stuff. And so, you get to The Rise of Skywalker and there's no toy line. That is the first Star Wars movie in history that does not have a toy line. It has action figures in the Vintage Collection line, but it does not have a Rise of Skywalker branded box. There were no Rise of Skywalker ships. They didn't do any of that stuff. And it's because of bad marketing choices. And this is a reflection of all of that. This is the ramifications of making merchandise based on characters that your fan base does not want or has ever wanted. And now you're here with Ahsoka, and you have ruined fan trust with your company and with the brand of Star Wars, and this is how you have to operate to make it look like there's more out there, to make it look like your brand and your toy line is richer than it truly is. And it's an indictment of the bad choices they've made, and realistically, I don't know how much worse it could get. Like, I don't know if you've heard this from your insider, but did you know the Indiana Jones toy line left stores in 90 days? It does not exist anymore. It is completely gone off of retail.
So I knew that they ordered very, very little in the way of Indiana Jones, but they made it be almost entirely about young Indiana Jones, talking about the original trilogy Indiana Jones, nothing old Indy, and they were quite creative in how they even made the stuff. Right, you had a cloth whip that no little boy would ever want to play with because it was more like a ribbon dancer kind of thing, because they're so afraid it will hurt someone. And I had heard that stuff was doomed when it got there. It was destined to go, not even to discount. I mean, nobody even wants it, period. They'll just have to donate it or destroy it. There's nothing else you can do with it. So, and you know, this just continues to be the way. But I guess my final thought here, Jeff, as we wrap up is, I don't know how much more Lucasfilm, like, they're at the bottom now. I mean, they've destroyed Willow. They've destroyed Indiana Jones. Star Wars with Ahsoka is so bad that the toy manufacturers won't make toys for it. Who could have? I mean, this is unbelievable. This is so outside the realm of possibility. Even when we thought that Kathleen Kennedy was terrible, even for those who thought that Dave Filoni was not the right guy, and they had their doubts, there's nobody out there, even myself, that thought that we would arrive at a point where you couldn't even make new Star Wars toys, because the franchise would have fallen that low. Yet here we are. Hasbro won't make new toys. They're repackaging old stuff and putting out a few collector's items. So, final thoughts on it, Jeff, before we wrap up?
I'm saddened but not surprised. Like I said, I've been really just in the retail stores since 2015, and I remember Force Friday 2015. Actually, if you're one of my Facebook friends or you follow us on Twitter, I post that picture every couple years. It was a huge, like, half of the store was Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Yes.
And that stuff was there forever. Like, through Christmas, it didn't move. And that's when I noticed, there's something up here. Because I didn't like the movie. I felt like I was alone in that. And so what I ended up doing was following the merchandise closely. Because I've always known that Star Wars merchandise is the indicator of a popular character or trend. And I didn't like Rey. I didn't like these characters. And when they sat on shelves forever, and every version of them sat on shelves forever, I felt vindicated. And when The Last Jedi was only 2 weeks old in theaters, that stuff was being clearanced for $1. $1. Not, it's a mistake. It was $1. And all the Star Wars stuff was $1. Stores wanted to get it out quickly. We're talking a week after Christmas then. Not even, I get it, you want to get stuff in for the next season, but it's only been on the shelves for a few weeks at that point, and they want it gone. So Lucasfilm merchandise, and really Disney merchandise as a whole, is just kind of poison or toxic to the retail space. And Ahsoka is just the most recent example of that right here.
I think you're exactly right. Lots of folks went and watched The Force Awakens, made it one of the most successful films of all time in terms of the box office, and yet the characters outside of Rey really did not resonate. Now, some people liked Finn at the time and were hoping there'd be more with him. But, Rey resonated to some degree at that point, not after The Last Jedi at all. But the problem was that little boys wanted to play with Star Wars, and little boys were not buying Rey dolls. And it just created this giant conundrum. And then that was completely, oh my gosh, that went to orders of magnitude in terms of a bigger problem once The Last Jedi came out. Because once The Last Jedi came out, people loathed it. It wasn't just that, hey, the main character's a girl, and my little boy doesn't want to play with the girl's, Jedi. And folks, you can think that's bad or whatever. I mean, it's just that was what was happening in the market. But by the time we get to The Last Jedi, I mean, you're right. They were having to do whatever they could to move that merch out. Just get rid of it. Put it on trucks and get it out of here because it wouldn't sell. And that's still where we are today. The difference is that the toy manufacturers, the partners out there, the license, those licensing agreements, Disney even is, I think, waving the white flag and saying, fine, don't make it. We can't make you anymore. We can't make you take these losses. And so it's quite the thing to watch. Jeff, you've been covering this forever. You are the expert in the area. Tell people where they can find you on this great, big, beautiful web.
So, folks, you can find me at the World Class BS channel. You can find me over on Twitter. And if you ever want to read my response to what Episode 7 did to me as a Star Wars fan, well, you can read my comic Stealing Solo at stealingsolo.com. I've been a Star Wars fan for, we're getting close to 30 years at this point. I know, right? And I've lived through the original stuff as the old remnant and the prequels, but nothing's been as bad as the sequels. So if you want to find me over on my YouTube channel, we talk about this and a whole lot more. And we've had you on, Pro, on our show, The High Council. So we'll have you on in the future, and we'll be talking some more.
That's right. I would love to do it. Loved my time over there. And folks, make sure you go subscribe to World Class BSers. It is fantastic content, especially if you are into toys, but pop culture generally as well. All right, folks, that is a wrap for today. If you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you do indeed stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. We covet your comments. We care about what you think. This is not a discussion between two people. Nay, it is a dialogue with the community, and you are part of that. So tell us, do you think we're right or wrong? Tell us what you've seen in the stores. Is there brand new Ahsoka merch? More specifically, do you see the other characters beyond Ahsoka, because she was already in those other Disney Plus shows? So we want to know, do you see showings of any of the other characters? That would indicate it's Ahsoka specific. If not, Star Wars may be in trouble. All right, folks, the Pro Show is 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time today. You don't want to miss it. We've got a fantastic panel, and we are covering all of this, including the upcoming Nielsen ratings, which will reveal much and maybe give us an indication why Hasbro is running away from Star Wars. All right, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Make sure to catch the Pro Show Thursdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.